Hello, welcome back to the Unspun Yarn. We've got first-time visitor here, my good friend, my brother, Dungeon Master Extraordinaire, as I touted him, Steve,
the Dungeon Master.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good to have you. Good to have you.
It's good to finally get an invitation.
Well, I mean, we had to get the right subject matter. And, we had discussed this earlier when I was having the previous Dragon stream. So, this was a stream that was promised months ago.
Right. Well, I'm ready to talk about some dragons. Everybody loves dragons. And this is what, part 3?
Yeah, third in the series. We're getting on up there. First off, before we do anything else, I want to thank everybody who's here in the chat. We've got Aaron M., the lovely Amy Blackfire, John Webster Film, our other brother from another mother, Sir Micah of Clark, Lady Leaf Underhill. I think I saw Jolie, Kate Bertinsky, and Sunflower Beth. All right, glad to see all of our friends here today. If you're new to the channel, great. If you're an old friend, thanks for coming. Please hit the like button. Shamelessly asking for YouTube algorithm increase. Hey, leave a comment. Leave a comment. Tell me, what you like about the channel. If you have any questions, any suggestions, leave a comment. All right. So, Steve, the Dungeon Master. I mean, it's right there in the name.
It is
Dungeons and Dragons. Out of all of the creatures, of all the monsters, all of anything in fantasy, of course they picked dragons.
Funny story. Actually, it was Gary Gygax is the guy that invented Dungeons and Dragons, and it was actually named by his kids. He wrote out a lot of different names that it could have been, and his kids liked Dungeons and Dragons. They liked the alliteration in it, so it stuck. Here we are, what is it, 45 plus years later, and it's still
soon
going.
to be a third generation is going to be brought up being little D&D players. So,
yep.
I mean, you've been playing this game since what, early 80s?
So I think I played my first game in the summer of 1985, which would make it 35 years.
So yeah, it was fairly well established in, nerd culture by that time. It had made its way around a whole bunch of basements, and it had gotten less of like an underground, to coin a pun.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about the history of the game, like it was just for war gamers, and then there was the Satanic Panic, and then after that fell off, they kind of went through a novelization phase where the game took a back seat to the novels. But yeah, here in the last, 10-ish years, as with the rise of nerd culture has come the rise of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, it's made quite a comeback. Or, I mean, I don't know that it ever really left, but it seems like it's becoming more and more popular as it kind of slips right on into that mainstream, nerd culture.
Yeah. And now you can go on YouTube and find literally hundreds of live plays where people sit down and play the game for 3 or 4 hours at a time and show up to watch it. And actually, I think Critical Role, especially, and all these other shows that are doing the same thing as them, have had a huge impact on bringing the game back into prominence.
So you've got what, 2, 3 games going now?
I have 2 going right now. I play in one game, and I'm a dungeon master for another one.
I think some of your little player characters are here in the chat today, right?
There's at least 3 of my players are in the chat right now. Hi guys, I'm going to try to kill you tomorrow.
That's his job.
But not with a dragon, because they're second level characters, and dragons in Dungeons and Dragons are incredibly dangerous, as
Yeah,
they should be.
not for
You
your
know?
not for your run of the mill dragon crawl. Yeah, I mean dungeon
Mm,
crawl. It's you got to work yourself up to go taking on one of the big beasties.
right. Oh, by the way, I just saw Shar pop into the chat. Hi, Shar.
Hi, Shar.
It's nice to see you.
Is
So
it?
dragons, right?
Yeah, dragons. So what are okay,
Actually,
so I did my little bit of research. So there seemed to be a dragon for every alignment, so to speak. I mean, and
yes, no, and maybe. It depends. Like with a lot of things with D&D, it kind of depends on which edition you're talking about. And I will be mostly referencing the current or fifth edition, although a lot of Dragon lore stays the same. But
mhm,
fifth edition hasn't been out as long as some of the other editions, and it's still sort of a living game where they're releasing new content for it a couple times a year. So, like, not all the dragons that have ever existed in previous editions exist in fifth edition. But
right. But you're going to have the same. You're going to have a lot of the same ones that are just going to carry over and carry over and carry over.
right,
Like I
right.
do not ever see them getting rid of, say, a red dragon, a
No,
black dragon.
and that's what I'm going to concentrate on today is the 10 main
Mhm.
dragons, the 5 chromatics and the 5 metallics, and I hope you guys will appreciate the difference between them by the time we get to the end, and also the 2 sort of unique deistic style dragons that
Right. Even
exist.
dragons have gods, right?
They do, but like it's different, and maybe when we get to that point, I'll dig into why it's different.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, Stephen. I've done I've brushed up on a little bit of my dragon lore, so I'm not like gonna be completely useless over here. It's been a few years since I played some D&D, but I
Right.
loved it.
Well, it's been a few days since I have. Although I will start this by saying it says dragons in the name of the game, but I guarantee you will see far more dungeons than you will see
Yeah.
dragons. Leaf even says, like, I haven't seen any dragons in the D&D game I'm playing. Are they really there? They are, and I recommend if you see a dragon, run. Like that's your only chance. Run and
It,
or hide,
it's gonna kill you. It's
because
gonna do its
if
level
it
best.
if it has a mind to end you, it will end you, and it will not even like have a difficult time doing it. Might kill the whole party in a single round. It's easy when you can just fly over and spray fire or acid or something like that, you know. But
Well,
yeah,
since let's go ahead and start talking about these types of dragons you were
okay. So
mentioning.
there are 2 primary. We'll say there's one major division. So the dragons fall into one of 2 categories, and they're either metallic or
Mm-hmm.
chromatic. So your
Right.
chromatic dragons are all going to be colored. They are
Colors.
they are in ascending order of power: white, black, green, blue, and red. But you also have your metallic dragons, and in ascending order of power, they are brass, bronze, copper, silver, and gold. And we're going to get into each individual type because they're all so interesting. But so there are the chromatic dragons are basically evil dragons, and
Right.
they are
Some version of evil alignment.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are chaotic evil, but
Especially, I remember black dragons, especially, were all chaotic evil.
yeah, basically most of them are chaotic evil. Blue dragons have a lawful evil streak, and they are also maybe my favorite kind of dragon. But when we get to them, I'll talk about why they're different and why they might be my favorite.
Yeah, I
Um,
like blue dragons too.
yeah, but then you also have your metallic dragons, and they're going to be all like metal colored, if you will, copper and bronze and what have you. Um, but they are generally good aligned dragons. But don't mistake a good aligned dragon for being necessarily friendly or wanting to hang out with you or wanting to put up with your nonsense or not killing you on the spot if you annoy it.
Interesting.
Depending on the type. Another thing I want to talk about, and this is sort of like a point to keep in mind throughout the whole stream, is that dragons do not think like people. They live for thousands of years. They hatch knowing more than most of us will know in a lifetime of learning, with some exceptions. And they hatch being able to fully take care of themselves. I mean,
Yeah.
a party of
There's
seasoned
not a lot of
adventurers.
dragon nurseries hanging around.
Right.
Childcare is a little difficult to get.
Yeah, and it's different for each type of dragon too.
Right. They have like certain environments they have to live in or they thrive in, certain things they eat that they won't eat. They're just like, they're
But
just like people. They're picky.
but the point is that dragon brain is
Is
like a thing, a dragon might like you, but you're going to be dead soon.
Yeah. He's only going to like you so much. You've got
well,
like
he might like you a whole lot
of a fruit fly to,
right.
We have, our lifespans compared to the thousands of years that a dragon can live. So they do
Right.
have perspective on
Well,
other.
And okay, and I talked with you about this a little bit, and I swear to God, we're going to get into the specific dragons in a minute. But
no, we're not, Stephen. You know it. We're going to take a left.
Well, I think all of this still bears talking about before we even get into it. To get the specifics, is that one of the things that Dungeons and Dragons does with its dragons that is notable is that it sort of sees them as creatures who are personifications of the 7 deadly sins in a lot of ways.
Right.
So gluttony. We'll start with gluttony. That's easy to see in a dragon, the way it would, sheep stealer is a dragon, that's literally named for its, and cannibal, both named for their eating proclivities. And, the dragon ran off with my livestock, or it's going to eat the virgin maiden, or what have you. Gluttony is easy to associate with dragons. Anybody that knows, the first thing that you learn about dragons, other than, they're fire-breathing lizards, is that they have a horde. So there's your greed right there.
Absolutely. That's kind of in your face, right? And how, these are easy to see personified in like the chromatic dragons, but how would something like this translate to a creature that is more good aligned? How does it change? They still have these thoughts in their head and they manifest them in different ways?
Yes. So let's look at pride. Okay. So
all dragons think they're the greatest thing that ever walked the earth.
Yes, and not only do they think that, so a blue dragon will tell you not only are dragons the best type of creature in the world, but blue dragons are the best kind of dragons. And I am the best blue dragon that ever existed. And that's how kind of all dragons are.
They got a little bit of an ego thing going.
Yes. Well, there's your pride. And if you wound that pride, you will know what dragon wrath looks like. So yeah, all those 7 deadly sins are definitely there. Even the lust, because while a lot of other media doesn't necessarily have lusty dragons, you'd be surprised how many half dragon, half something else things there are in the
dragons breed with any other creature.
Yep.
So so if you meet some tall, bald stranger in a tavern, maybe a dragon in disguise. Huh?
Yeah, and that's a real thing too, like dragon in disguise. But we'll get to that also. So I want everybody as we go forward to realize that dragons think differently than we do, and Kate, yes, little donkey dragon babies, yes, from Shrek.
It could happen.
Sure.
It could.
But yeah, so let's you want to talk about specific dragons now?
Yeah, let's talk about some specifics. So you said blue dragons were your favorite.
Yeah, they are. Do you want to start there?
Why not start with our favorite?
Okay.
You like them? I like them. More people should like them.
Okay. Well, This is what a blue dragon looks like in Dungeons and Dragons. You'll notice the heavily armored tail, lots of spikes along its spine and on the back of its legs. It's weighty, and they all have that very prominent single horn on their sort of their forehead or their nose, and they have what you might call a traditional dragon wing, 4 fingers, and like they don't run the full length of the body. But yeah, blue dragons are my favorite because they kind of break the mold a little bit of the chromatic dragon. So dragons, generally speaking, are solitary creatures.
Right.
They're predators, and they are large predators. So having a territory to call their own is going to be a large territory. Blue dragons are also solitary by nature, but they actually come closest to having their own society. So granted, it's a very sort of tyrannical thing where there is a dragon at the top called the suzerain, who is like the biggest, baddest blue dragon in the land, but then all the other dragons are his vassals, as opposed to like just that's your territory, we don't have anything to do with each other. And they are lawful evil creatures, as opposed to the chaotic evil. So, like, if you can get a blue dragon, to make you a promise, he's going to follow through on that promise, but you better read the fine print too.
Well, lawful right there in the alignment, that kind of says that they want to have some kind of strictly divided type official territory, negotiated things.
Right. Like they have a society, and often they superimpose their society over a society of humans or elves or whatever lives in this in your particular region fantasy world. They tend to favor desert terrain, but some of them live on the coastline. I guess they like sand a lot.
Sandy dragons.
I guess. I hate sand. It's coarse and it's rough and it's irritating and it gets everywhere. But
maybe it keeps their scales nice and polished. Maybe that's what they like.
Maybe.
Like a dirt bath.
Right. But so the lawful will really come through, and you'll see that a blue dragon is probably the evil dragon that is most willing to work with other creatures that aren't dragons, but they're always like, I'm the guy in charge, you work for me. Be that an entire human empire where the dragon is basically the god emperor of that empire, or whatever. But yeah, blues are really interesting. They also shoot lightning. Their breath weapon is lightning.
So that's something. Dragons have what, 2 different types of weaponry?
Okay, no. Metallic dragons have 2 different types of breath weapons: a lethal and a non-lethal.
Okay.
Chromatics only have one type of breath weapon, and it's always lethal. And blue dragons shoot lightning out of their face, and it's awesome. They're also maybe the strongest flyers of the dragon kind. They are considered technically the second most powerful chromatic, red dragons being more powerful in a one-on-one basis. But a fight between a blue and a red dragon goes something like the blue dragon flies faster than the red dragon and can shoot lightning farther than the red dragon can shoot fire. So it just
stays ahead of
it and keeps hitting with lightning, and
eventually it'll give up.
Yeah. But I would say that individual dragon types a lot of times will have one of those 7 deadly sins that is more associated with them than others. And I would say for blue dragons, it is pride.
The most prideful dragon.
The most prideful, which you can use to your advantage in a D&D setting, because if you can stroke the ego of a blue dragon, he might not kill you. He might deal with you. you
could bargain. Makes it easier
right,
to bargain with them. Yes.
right. Most other
Break them
chromatic
in their
dragons,
pride. Yeah.
you can't even bargain with.
They're just going to kill you.
Yep, probably.
If they have
But,
the opportunity. Yeah.
so that's a blue dragon. I'm not sure what else I can say other about them. Um, there's a lot of deeper lore. Again, I don't claim to be like a detail expert on all the dragons, but I do know my lore, my D&D lore. But like the nitty gritty details, I'm just gonna have to tell you to go. If you're interested in any of these, go look it up your dang self.
So,
because I'm a jerk.
Yeah. So, which chromatic dragon would you identify more, say, with greed? Of all, I mean, they all display
Probably green.
Agreed. Green.
Probably
so, like
green.
Like envy.
Yeah. Well, but like, I mean, it's tough to say. Okay. Yeah, I would say probably a green dragon aligns more with greed. So a green dragon is sort of similar to blue in just that they might have creatures working for them, but like they're just as likely to eat those creatures to keep them around as a food source. And the fact that they maybe worship it like it's a god or take care of like small-time interlopers so the dragon doesn't have to do it itself, because green dragons are cowards. Actually, you know what? Let me pop up a picture of a green dragon. And this one has a little guy standing next to it for some scale.
A lot of fundamental differences from the blue.
Right. So greens are not quite as beefy as a blue, not quite as armored. They have the same 5-finger wing design that blue dragons have. But greens are probably most notable for their crocodilian mouth and the big bold mohawk fin that runs over their head and down the length of their spine.
Yeah, I was going to say there's like a lot of, I don't know, iguana or something in.
Right. Well, and their preferred, climate or terrain is forest. Big surprise.
They like it woodsy and wet, huh?
I mean, at least for sure woodsy, wet either way, but for sure woodsy. Like you can find them in a jungle. You can probably find them in a like tundra forest. Just as long as there's a bunch of trees, and they will sort of recruit any evil forest-dwelling creatures that are nearby to get them to work for them. But they're also just as likely to eat that creature because I can't be bothered to go hunting, or hunting can be dangerous even. Leaving my lair can be dangerous. So if dinner's just going to walk in, I might as well eat.
So a good idea would be like, if you're going to work with a dragon, you want to make sure it's well fed, so he doesn't start looking at you.
Yeah, and again,
and even then, don't walk too close if he's a little peckish.
Right, like a blue dragon will have minions. A green dragon will have an emergency food supply.
In case of famine, break armor.
Right. And green dragons spit. Well, okay. In the current edition, they spit acid. In older editions of Dungeons and Dragons, they breathe a poisonous gas cloud.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
Yeah. So if you basically, I think it was 4th edition it became acid, or maybe even 5th. But yeah, if you played like older 2nd edition, whatever, they breathed poisonous gas.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like green dragons in general. They're interesting because they too can kind of have their own little sort of kingdom, but it's just going to be one green dragon.
Right.
Because they're not. Their
kingdom will be like their minions.
Right. And if another green dragon shows up, one of two things is going to happen. Either it's mating season and maybe they'll decide to mate with each other, or one of the dragons will die. I say that maybe they'll, if there's a huge power disparity, they'll run off.
Yeah, because they're cowards. So
Right, because they're cowards. But well, and that is one of the things I've always liked about the D&D dragons as well, is that they all have a very distinctive look, and they all look very similar to each other. Like every blue dragon has that prominent nose horn. Every green dragon has the big ridge that runs down their spine. And I lost my train of thought. They just all look really cool.
They look really cool.
And there's a lot of variation in them as well.
Yes, there is. You could even say like the difference between the greens and the blues. They're not just that one's beefier than the other, but there's like the wings look like one looks more bat-like to me, where the green dragon looks, I don't know, like more frills on a lizard or something. Like there's a lot more membrane to it, and they go like all the way down. They're not as jagged at the edge. It looks like there's more substance to them.
Yeah, I kind of find all the chromatics, they definitely have distinct features, but their wings, I think, are less distinct. When we get into the metallics in a little bit, you'll see that a lot of metallic dragons have very distinctive wing patterns.
Cool. All right, so that was blue and green.
Green.
Yeah, let's go on up the color wheel. How about
you want to go to the bottom of it?
Go to white?
Yeah.
Sure.
So here is a white dragon. Again,
you'll see an ice dragon.
Yeah. You will see that now they are probably the stockiest, like the beefiest, but they are also the smallest and weakest, and coincidentally, the dumbest. A white dragon who has lived hundreds of years is about as smart as your average human. They're born about as smart as a chimp.
Wow.
Which is dumb for a dragon. But they are definitely very physical. You'll see that they also have the 4-finger wing layout, not that different. And they do prefer icy terrain, be that a mountaintop or just a frozen, like Arctic type setting. But right. But they are dumb, but okay. They're dumb but not stupid. Like they have excellent memories. And I would say that they are most closely associated with gluttony.
Yeah,
although they
a chonker. No, just kidding.
Right. Like whereas most dragons, they're very intelligent. They're trying to manipulate the world around them to their needs or outsmart their opponents or whatever. But a white dragon is a predator. Right. And that's really all it is.
Apex predator.
Yeah. Now, there has never been such an apex predator, but that's really all they are. Like a lot of dragons learn to use magic. White dragons don't really use magic. A lot of dragons will fight tactically, flying overhead and breathing fire or whatever on you. A white dragon uses its ice breath only as a last resort. It wants to jump on you and tear you apart with its teeth and claws and then eat you.
Or eat you as it's tearing you apart.
Right.
Whichever.
Right.
But it's like a velociraptor with wings.
One of the things that really makes white dragons interesting, though, is their memory. Like, if they had a good hunt in a place, they will never forget that place, even if they move away and live somewhere else for 500 years. In their lair.
Remember that good meal they had at that fancy place, right?
Or if a party of adventurers sneaks into its lair and it kills them, it's going to use its ice breath to freeze their body into the walls and floor as trophies. That's part of their hoard. And they know where literally every single piece of treasure is in their lair. If you sneak into their lair while they're away and you chip away at the ice and you steal 1 gold coin, that dragon will know that it's missing. 1 gold coin out of millions or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not millions. That's a lot of gold coins. But at any rate,
whatever they got.
But they're an interesting type. And honestly, if as a dungeon master, I like to use, if I'm going to put a dragon against the party, I like to use a white dragon because they're dumb. I mean, they're not stupid. They're very cunning. Like, if they're going to fight you, they're going to do their best to take you down, but they're not going to employ high-minded strategy. They're just coming straight at you. Mm-hmm. So I kind of like to use white dragons as the first dragon you encounter, not only because they're the weakest, but they're also like the least likely to, kill you outright. Yeah.
Or use their breath weapon.
Less likely to use their breath weapon, not going to use magic, not going to lure you into a trap, not going to have a bunch of followers to assist them in combat. They're just
going to flat out try to kill you and eat you.
Oh, hey, Alicia Kingston just popped in. Hey,
Alicia, good to see you. Thanks for coming by.
We're talking about dragons.
Yeah, so white dragons.
White dragon. Again, they're not my favorite, but as a dungeon master, I really like them just because they let the party fight a dragon in a way that's like achievable. Long before most other dragons would be fight, you could realistically fight any other of them, and then you get to walk away going, I killed a dragon.
Okay, kids, so if your dungeon master takes your party somewhere way north, you might be getting ready to fight a white dragon.
You might be.
You might want to file that little tidbit away.
So move on to another kind of dragon.
Well, we did white, so let's go ahead and do the black dragon. This is
okay. Now, aesthetically, blacks are one of my favorites. They all have these big curving horns that come over their cheek. Now, this isn't the best quality picture. I wish I'd realized that when I downloaded it. But you can see they have the same arrangement of 4-fingered wings. They are probably one of the more lithe-built dragons. But they all have those 2 big horns that come around the side of the face and almost get in the way of them biting, other than the fact that you can fit a person between them. But they also have these super long, sharp, needly teeth. And a lot of times the skin over time erodes away from their teeth. So their face looks almost skeletal.
Yeah. I was going to say, they really have more like of a serpentine quality to them, where the others don't. Like you said, they're kind of longer, leaner, and that's a very serpentine tail,
which suits their preferred environment of sort of swampland.
They like the swamp.
They do like the swamp, and they breathe acid also, which is what corrodes their lips and gives them this very sort of skeletal face. So if I was going to pick one of the 7 deadly sins to describe the black dragon, it might be envy, because in the back of their mind, they know they're low down in the dragon order. And as we discussed about dragon brain earlier, that just pisses them off.
Just makes them angry.
Yeah. But it's because they see other dragons and they're like, literally the only dragon in the dragon order that's below them is the white.
So their motto is, at least we're not white dragons.
We're not white dragons. Right. But and again, chaotic evil, not really. Occasionally they might work with some local creatures as to be defenders or whatever, because they're smart enough to do that. They're not white dragon dumb, they're just they're not
average intelligence
or higher. Like, they're smart. But like, again, anybody they work with, it better be understood that if you upset me, if you do anything other than praise me and soothe my ego, you're probably going to be my next meal. even if I'm not that hungry. But yeah, I don't really have much to say about black dragons. I find them to be like, I think they're cool. I think all dragons are cool. But like blacks are one that I have the least experience with, and I find them to be, I don't know, maybe not the most developed when it comes to the lore. It might
Yeah.
just be my ignorance of the deeper lore on them, but I think they have one of the coolest looks though. Those two big horns and the almost like skeletal
It's like a
grin.
trident that, like a
Yeah.
frog spear or something.
But okay. So Lady Leaf asks, so there are beings that are half dragon and half some completely different creature, but no dragons that are mixed dragon type. That is correct. I don't know why that is necessarily, other than it's probably something mystical is the answer, or because if a dragon can crossbreed with anything and they have a magical nature, like they're not animals. In Game of Thrones they might be animals, but dragons in Dungeons and Dragons
Or not.
talk, have complex emotions and existential dread, and form societies and all that stuff. Oh, yeah. Kate. Okay, so Kate says I wanted a purple dragon. Purple dragons do exist in the old lore. They are not in the new lore, and I haven't prepared anything to talk about them. But purple dragons are like, they live deep, deep, deep underground in a place known as the
They're super rare.
Underdark. And
super rare.
Yeah, super rare. And basically never live closer to the surface than maybe 3 to 5 miles. But as far as blacks go, like, I mean, again, I like them all. They all are cool, but I have maybe the least to say about black dragons.
So you haven't run into a lot of them in your
I mean, I've used them in my games, but like, they were a monster in a swamp and they were a dangerous swamp monster. That's and they don't really do that much that's a whole lot different, at least as far as I can tell. Although I do enjoy the fact that their envy side means that maybe, just maybe, if you can praise them enough and appease their ego, maybe you've got a chance.
Right, because they really need that affirmation more than any other dragon species. Bad self-esteem.
Right.
Not living up to their potential.
Nope. I'm gonna have to Google something just super quick. But we'll come back to that in a minute. I'm already back. See how fast I was?
You were pretty fast.
So shall we round out the chromatics then?
Sure, I guess we're up to
all right. So this creature, the red dragon.
Oh, and it's really pretty too, I think.
And it is massive and strong, and it always has those
very beefy.
Right. So you can see it's got a frill running the entire length of its neck and body and tail, all the way to the tip of the tail. It has a frill. It's got the same 5-finger wing layout. And it also always has these sort of distinctive spikes on its chin that give it a bearded look. And this is your fire-breathing dragon. And
this is like the top of the food chain, right? This is the number one chromatic.
This is it. This is the guy. And if you get a book of Dungeons and Dragons and there's a dragon on the cover, it is probably a red dragon.
Mm-hmm.
And they are the fire-breathing type. And I don't even have to think about it. Their deadly sin is wrath. Like,
absolutely, fire.
Their default setting is pissed off. So don't piss it off.
Yeah, don't piss it off.
Right. I agree. Ridiculous Ed Tollett says, fitting that the little dude is running away in that picture. It's the only real option. You're not wrong. Like
Yes.
the red dragon, they don't work together with anyone. They don't usually have minions. Occasionally they will have, there's these creatures called kobolds, which revere dragons as gods. And every once in a while, red dragon will tolerate the existence of kobolds in their lair. Because again, easy food source, but like they're worshiping it like a god, and it's like that's just dinner walking around when I want it. Like green dragons might have minions that they'll eat. Red dragons don't even see them as minions. They're just a food supply. Literally, that's all they are. And when a red dragon shows up, any other dragon in who's around leaves. Period. There is like again, the only dragon that has a chance. The only other chromatic that has a chance is a
blue dragons.
Is a blue dragon, and that's you know.
Do not get inside the blast zone.
No, don't.
They will just Dracarys your ass. So
they will, and like they're also extremely smart. They have a long memory too. So if you piss off a red dragon, like he could hunt your family for hundreds of years because you did something to piss him off. Because trust me, he's already mad. That's just the default setting for a red dragon.
Piss the F off.
Right. And if another red dragon shows up in a red dragon's territory, it's either for mating or for killing each other.
Yeah, they have resting pissed face.
Yeah. Like they just, yeah, cooperation is not like we've talked about how maybe you can talk your way out of, you know, you can maybe talk like to a blue dragon, maybe talk to a green, maybe a black. A white dragon is just going to eat you, but like they're the weakest. You can't bargain with a red dragon either. Like they'll just burn you to death and eat you.
So these are all the chromatics then? No, in the current lore. In the current lore,
well,
I seem to.
So these are okay. So these are the chromatics that have been. These are the dragons that have been around since the beginning. Like these. These are the OG 5 dragons in Dungeons and Dragons. Yep. Period.
Yep. And then our 1, 2, 3, 4. Similarly, there's like OG 5 metallics.
Yeah, but they came along later. Do you want to talk about Tiamat first, or do you want to go on to metallics?
Well, and Tiamat is the what we would call the goddess god.
Okay, so this is one of the best pictures I could find for Tiamat. You will notice a white, a black, a blue, a red, and a green dragon head. And, you know, they're sporting the various distinctive styles. The black dragon has the curving horns around the face and the really prominent teeth. The green has the head frill. The blue has the big horn. But Tiamat is this creature, and she is long before Daenerys did it. She is the mother of dragons.
The OG. Yes.
She is the dragon queen, and like that's not hyperbole. She is also literally the dragon queen. Yeah, Alicia, Hydra dragon. Yes, that is actually not too far off from being accurate. She has all 5 color type heads. All 5 of those colors revere her not only as their god, but also as their queen. Because their
mother, right? The OG
mother, right? So, or like at least ancestor. So, sidebar about Dungeons and Dragons in general. When you're talking about gods in Dungeons and Dragons, they occupy different power levels. Okay, and they're basically greater, intermediate, and lesser. Okay, so Tiamat is and Bahamut, who we'll talk about later, are both considered lesser deities. Okay, in the scope of gods, they're not as powerful as, say, the god of all the elves is a being called Corellon Larethian. He is a major or a greater god. So Tiamat is less powerful than him.
Like a minor deity.
Right. She is definitely a god, but she is, as gods go, not that powerful. But one of the interesting things about the way dragons interact with their gods is that they don't really revere them in a deistic kind of way. They more revere them in a monarchical kind of way. Because when you're a dragon, your power level is way up here. So if your power level is way far above all the other mortal creatures around you, but your god is sort of like lower down on the scale, like your difference is here rather than here off the screen. So they view their gods less like gods and more like literally either their king or their queen, depending on if you're talking about Tiamat for chromatic dragons or Bahamut for metallic dragons. And Tiamat is capricious, and she'll make deals with you, but she'll stab you in the back. And if anybody watched the old Dungeons and Dragons Saturday morning cartoon, Tiamat figured in that cartoon a few times. Lady Leaf asks if they're like a Maiar. No, they're more powerful than a Maiar.
They're like the ultimate dragon.
Right. So, even a lesser deity is more powerful than a Maiar.
Like these were the primordial dragons.
Right. They would be more like, I would say that a lesser god is more like, one of the less powerful Valar. That's the best way I can think to put it. But yeah, I like Tiamat because I've even seen, she is one creature, but she has 5 heads. Right. Which means she has 5 brains, which means she has 5 personalities. And they don't always get along with each other.
Okay, so I have to ask. So is her white dragon head like the dumb one in the group?
Is what?
Is her white dragon head like the dumb one in the cluster?
Probably. But at least, I will say this. It's the red dragon head that's usually in control. But
5 heads are basically like one mouth or something. One that is more dominant, or
right. Like she will tend to speak through the red dragon head, although I've seen dragon heads argue with themselves. Maybe that was just my dungeon master's interpretation when he did it, but I thought it was cool. So Amy says, are their wings hands or what? So they are six-limbed creatures because they are not biological. They are mystical in origin. So they don't have to conform to the sort of like same
quadrupedal,
right. They don't have to conform to that standards. George R.R. Martin wanted his dragons to be more like a biological animal with some strange and fantastic abilities, but like there's no denying the fact that dragons are magical. They pop out of an egg knowing how to speak multiple languages. So yeah.
So if
Micah, how dare you, sir?
Mother of all dragons, or was she just the mother?
Yes. Like, so I would say that dragon kind. So like, she's not the mother of all dragons, but she's the mother of dragon kind. So obviously, like, there was some human way back in the past that is ancestor to us all. That's Tiamat. But my mom is still my mom.
Right. That's what I meant. Like the original, all dragons came from her. What about the metallic dragons? Did they also come from her? Or are they like
she's the mother of all dragon kind, but there is a division between Bahamut and Tiamat over what place dragons have in the cosmos in the larger scheme of things. Tiamat is convinced that dragons are meant to be whatever the hell she wants to be in the here and now, We take what we want. We have the power to do it. We take what we want when we want, and nobody can say anything about it.
Okay, so what about Bahamut? We talked about
Okay.
Tiamat, so let's talk about her counterpart.
Okay, and then we can go through the metallics after that. So, Bahamut, also known as the Platinum Dragon.
I was going to say the only platinum dragon.
Yes. So
there is only one.
Yeah, the metallics come in brass, bronze, copper, silver, and gold, but their god is platinum, the platinum dragon. And whereas Tiamat is lawful or is chaotic evil, Bahamut is lawful good. Dragons are incredibly powerful and capable and can do anything they want. And in Bahamut's eyes, it means that it falls on them to be shepherds to the lesser beings of the universe. I love that we've like kicked off. People are worshiping Tiamat now. So
hey, why not? Why not?
I suppose most of you realize that Tiamat is you covered it in one of your previous dragon
streams.
I
was going to say we talked about that in our Origins of Dragons, even in the mythology of Babylon, Sumeria. Tiamat is the original dragon. She is worshipped as such. And like the creator mother of chaos.
Oh,
she crawled forth from chaos. She was the first bee, the first dragon.
Right. People are
very deep in human history.
Right. I'm not sure where Bahamut comes from, but I'm pretty sure he has a mythology origin as well. Just maybe not as well known. I'm going to pop this picture back up also, just because.
Yes.
I'm quoting Micah here. He is majestic AF.
Yes, he is. And you can see in this one, it has more of like equine features than you see in, the less of the reptilian and more of the equine features.
Right. And you'll notice that he's got 4 main fingers, as a lot of the dragons with that wing type do, but he's got more spines that, like, again, he looks like a cross between a dragon and a god.
Yeah.
Because spoiler alert, he is.
He's a good looking dragon, man.
He is.
He could come sit at my bar.
I mean, okay.
I wouldn't kick him out of the bar, for eating too many peanuts. You know what I mean?
Right. How do you spell his name? Okay. I'm going to just put it in the chat.
Okay.
Oh, I put it in as you because, oops. But there you go.
Spelling is still the same. Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate you doing that.
You're welcome. It's Bahamut.
Yeah. I mean, it could come from like maybe some type of Persian mythology.
Yeah,
just the way that sounds. And when I almost like, it sounds a lot like Baphomet, but that's more.
But that's like a demon thing.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So there are many different planes of existence in the Dungeons and Dragons world, and you can call it your game world, whether it's Forgotten Realms or Greyhawk or Dark Sun or different world settings. And in the Dragonlance series, Bahamut appears as a character or as a god called Paladine.
Right. Sounds like Paladin, which
it does. And actually, Paladin is probably very close to Bahamut's ideal, because he's very lawful and he's very good. And he is kind of concerned with bringing justice and that which is right all to the, spreading morality and justice and all of that type of thing throughout the multiverse. But in different places, he's known by different names. He also, as Paladine, will occasionally manifest as a mortal wizard, an insane mortal wizard known as Fizban the Fabulous.
Fizban, what a great name.
Which is a great name. And Fizban the Fabulous is always followed around by 10 golden canaries. So we'll come back. We'll come back to the golden canaries when we talk about gold dragons.
I bet they're not canaries. That was
bet they're not. Oh, see, John remembers that. Remembers what? Paladine and Fizban the Fabulous? Yeah. It's been a long time since I read any of that stuff, but yeah.
Forgotten Realms, yeah.
But I really like, so I like the metallic dragons a lot in general because they let you use a dragon as either a really interesting non-player character in your game, like a dragon that you can actually work with and not just like trick or make a deal, but like actually maybe work with you.
But they're of course going to be in charge,
right?
Because of course they are.
Well,
if I had a dragon,
not always.
If I had.
But like even with good dragons, though, they still have dragon brain. They know they're a dragon, and therefore are the best kind of creature, and they know they're the best kind of dragon, and they also know that like I am the best version of my kind of dragon.
Right. I can see if you had one in your party that you were like leading the party, but anytime you have some kind of mistake or what they consider a misstep or whatever, I can see them giving you like a whole bunch of side eye and making maybe some snarky little comments like, "Well, I would have done it like this," and
It would depend on the type of dragon, even like. So there's a couple of things that will separate metallics from chromatics, other than just the fact that these are evil and these are good. And when I say these are evil and these are good, understand that those are pretty unbreakable rules, because as beings of mystical origin, like they don't have the same type of free will as humans do.
Yeah, they're bound by the laws of
chaos. Now, some variation from that can happen, but like it's exceedingly rare to meet a red dragon that is not chaotic evil or a gold dragon that is not lawful good. And if you do, it's like they're one step on the alignment chart away, and that's it. You're never going to meet an evil metallic or a good aligned chromatic. Just won't happen.
All right. Well, before we get too deep into the chromatics, it's 8 o'clock.
Oh.
We can do a little mid-roll here. Well, I don't have like a Patreon or anything like that.
I'm going to go heat up my coffee.
You go get some coffee, Stephen. But I'd like to just take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for being here. Your participation means the world to me. I appreciate it. I love seeing the same people come back week after week, just to hang out, listen to my nerdy spiel. But it just means a lot, and I really do appreciate it. So thank you all for being here. You're the reason that I do this. So Steven's going to warm up his coffee. I mean, if he had a pet dragon in his pocket, he wouldn't have to go find a microwave. But, well, I can also take this minute to remind everyone that we have a giveaway going on Here Be Dragons for this, which is a bottle of our home brewed Here Be Dragons Blood wine and this lovely brass wine topper. Coolio. And all you have to do is send in a piece of original art that has something to do with Here Be Dragons, John Webster film, The Unspun Yarn. We're not too picky. We just want to see your contribution. So send that to our official channel on Twitter with the hashtag HBD swag on it. Or you can send it to our official channel email at we3dragons@gmail.com. And we're going to post that shit right on the Twitter. So, yeah.
Awesome.
So far, we have one person who has taken the lead.
Yeah, but I've heard from several people that they're working on it.
Right. Yes. So looking forward to seeing all of your ideas. Really looking forward to that. So
Yep,
okay.
yep.
All right, Stephen, take it away. Back to gold dragons or
Okay.
platinum
Well,
dragon.
let's discuss a little bit more the differences between chromatics and metallics because there are more than just good versus evil.
Okay.
Um, so we've talked about there's power ranking, white, black, green, blue, red. So the
Mm-hmm.
power ranking for metallics is brass, bronze, copper, silver, gold, but they don't line up perfectly. They line up off by one. So the weakest metallic dragon is about
Mm-hmm.
the same power level as this. So a brass dragon, the weakest metallic, about the same power level as a black dragon, the second
Right.
from the bottom. So a red
It has
dragon, the big,
jumped up a little bit more than the chromatics, just a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah, they are
It's like
slightly more powerful. Um, I'm sorry, Aaron. That's just great. You guys are. I
love it.
never cease to be amazed by this community and their humor and their wit and just. You guys are awesome. Also, as I said before, all chromatics or metallics have two breath weapons. One which is a lethal, and one which is a non-lethal, and that just goes to show like the nature of them being good. They have a non-lethal option. Like chromatic dragons don't even have that. Like
Yeah.
if they breathe on you, they're going to just kill you. Um,
So brass dragons have a breath weapon of fire. What is their main attack?
a brass,
Yeah, brass. That's the lowest one.
yeah, it's the lowest one.
Is it
So
comparable to acid or
it's a,
what?
no, it's a fire.
Hmm. Okay.
But they can also breathe a cloud of sleeping gas, which I think
Right.
is really awesome. So they just knock you out. And brass dragons are really fun as a dungeon master, although they can be challenging. Well, they are the weakest of metallics. They are probably also the most benign of all dragons.
So
Um,
where do they like to hang out?
where do brass dragons like to hang out? Let me. I think they favor like deserty type regions as well, which brings them into conflict with blues quite often, or it can. They prefer arid environments. But one of the things, so brass dragons not only love to talk. Actually, let me pop up. There you go. There's a picture of a brass dragon. They have this very distinctive crest, and you will notice also they have a very different wing layout from all
It
the.
is. It's very much like fins almost.
Yeah, if they are flying and you see them from beneath, they look kind of like a kite. And a
They-
lot of the metallic dragons will have a similar wing layout to this. Not all of them, but you can see like parts of the wings go all the way down the ridge all the way down to the tip of the tail. The frill goes, and they also have this very sort of distinctive headdress type thing.
Yes. It kind of looks almost like a bat signal.
Yeah, okay, I can
I mean,
see it. But so brass dragons love to talk, period. To
yeah,
the
Aaron,
point
you got
of
it right.
being
The chatty Cathy of the dragon world.
and to the point of being annoying about it. But they're also a dragon, so what you gonna do? Like you're like, fine, I'll just walk away. Okay, I breathe sleeping gas on you. Then I dig a hole and I bury you up to your neck. Now,
So
now let's
even
talk.
Okay, so you can either listen to them bore you to death, or you can let them blow the sleepy knockout gas on you and put you to sleep.
and then put you in a position where you can't leave, and then talk to you until they bore you to death.
Just let them,
Yeah,
let them go.
but that also makes them very worldly, and like they know things from all over. They know things from history. They know all the best stories. Like if you're playing a bard character and you come across a brass dragon, that is an in, my friend, because your job is talking, and the brass dragon wants nothing more than just to hear you talk at length. Like you'll get the most chatty Cathy in the world will get bored of it before a brass dragon does. And they're generally friendly, often fluent in. Yeah, I mean,
I know some people like this. They'll just start talking to people, just carry on a conversation.
but don't forget that they're a dragon,
Very true.
and like things are going to go the way they want them to go. If they want to talk to you, guess what? There's really nothing you can do about it.
You're trying to sleep? Nope. He's going to be talking, or she's
It's
going
not
to
like
be talking.
rule or anything, but if they want to have a conversation with you and you try to leave, you're not going to succeed. They're going to get their way. They're a dragon. And honestly, from a dragon's point of view, dragon brain, you should be honored that this thing wants to even talk to you.
And he's telling you the best stories.
And he's got great stories too. Yeah. But brass dragons being the weakest of the metallics, and actually I find the three bottom metallic dragons to be kind of samey in some ways. I mean, they're definitely distinct from each other, but silvers and golds are very unique.
So brass, bronze, and copper.
Copper, yeah.
Yeah. So they're all kind of like same power level, about the
No,
same.
I mean they definitely have an ascending power level, but like and not that they're samey, but I just feel like silvers are very distinct and golds are also very distinct, like from all other types of dragons. Whereas the other three metallics, while they're definitely different from each other, they're not necessarily as distinct, sort of from a lore and or like worldview perspective.
Right. So then I guess we should just go ahead and bump on up to the silver dragons.
Silvers?
Yeah, silver, that would be the next one up, right?
No. Silver is second from the top. Silver is very powerful.
Right, that's what I was saying. If they're all the same, so
Oh, no, they're not all the same. I mean, coppers and bronzes are definitely distinct, but silvers and golds are like very unique in their approach to dragoning.
okay, well,
I kind of wanted to save silver for last because silver is the other one that might be my favorite.
okay, well, the bronze dragons then. These are the next up the food chain.
Right. So whereas a brass dragon wants to talk to you, a bronze dragon wants to learn everything they can so that they can deal out justice. Like, they do not tolerate cruelty, period. Now, they are not nearly as personable and friendly, and they're not trying to force you to have a conversation with them, but they are like very sort of focused on bringing justice.
They're like lawful good then.
Oh yeah. They are you know what? I'm gonna look up to make sure I know what I'm talking about. But yes, okay, they are lawful good. Because and they're all about that, like making things right. If somebody breaks the law, they're the ones that are going to come
and try to
and they're going to deliver retribution or correction or what have you. Oh, one thing that I didn't mention that I didn't mention, and this is important for metallics. So all dragons are natural sorcerers, and they have some magical abilities beyond teeth and claws and flying and breathing stuff out of their face. They also have like spell casting abilities. All metallic dragons inherently have the ability to, the spell is called polymorph, which is to assume the shape of another kind of creature. So any of these metallic dragons can naturally assume a human form, at least for a limited time. But bronze dragons are only likely to do that in order to move through human society so they can get the information they need and then mete out justice. But okay, bronze dragon. We've talked about everybody else's breath weapons, so I might as well make sure I get it all for here. So again, 2 breath weapons. Bronze dragons also shoot lightning out of their face, so it's
Favorite.
Yeah, I do like the lightning breathing dragon. It's kind of a neat idea, but they also have they can also emit a cone of energy that physically pushes creatures away from them. So
like repulsive.
Yeah, I think the word in the actual rules write-up is repulsion. So like knock people back, and that's useful when a bronze dragon is engaging and trying to mete out justice sometimes. You know, let's knock some of these people back so I can deal with these people over here.
Right. Kind of clear the path, kind of like.
Yeah.
Smart.
But yeah. Oh, did we ever show what a bronze dragon looks like? We didn't. So I'm sorry. This is a bronze dragon. Now, they have a wing layout more similar to chromatics, but you'll notice, first of all, the membrane where it attaches to the body is longer, and they don't have the same 4-fingered wing layout that all the other dragons do. So they have a big elbow spine, and then they have one really long finger that creates sort of like a 2-panel wing, and then just
kind of like a sail.
Right. And just, I'm going to pop up, say, a blue dragon for a second so you can then compare the wings. So the blue dragon, you can see on its elbow, it does not have the spine, and then each of the fingers going through the wing are more or less the same length. And then, of course, they have this sort of distinctive facial horns that let you know that it's a bronze dragon, because you know if it's nighttime, you can't always see what color it is, and being able to pick out certain distinctive features is very helpful. But yeah, so in my mind, brass dragons are wizards and bronze dragons are warriors. The brass dragon, because it wants to talk, it wants to learn everything it can learn. Whereas the bronze dragon wants to go out and fight things.
Right. And I was thinking, I just had this image of like this guy in the spaghetti western. He just goes from town to town, setting things right or whatever, you know.
Right. That's kind of how I would utilize them in my Dungeons and Dragons campaign. Okay, you want to talk about coppers?
Moving on, copper it is.
So there's you a copper dragon, and again, they have the more like the kite style wings that run not quite the length of the tail, but you know, they have a wing. So I'm going to pop back up the brass dragon. The brass dragon doesn't really have much of an arm at the forewing, whereas the copper really kind of does.
Yeah, it's much more almost like another limb.
Yeah. So the brass dragon's wing shape is going to look very triangular, whereas the copper can get some real forward sweep on its wings. So it might look more like a flying V.
I like how they put the verdigris in the wing as well, where it's like, you know, then it's weathered, how copper will weather.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like copper dragons kind of turn green with age, or parts of them do, like oxidize almost.
Yeah.
Which
So
is
that you can tell an age of a copper dragon by how much vertebrae it has in
right.
its scales. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
So you can dragons age a little bit.
they do. And again, so humans, we get better as we age, and then we get worse. Dragons just keep getting better. All like the older a dragon does not ever get feeble because it's old. It just gets crazy powerful.
Because it's had so much time to learn.
Well,
And
and
it
it's not a natural creature, you know.
Yeah, think of all the spells you could learn in like 1,000 years. I
Yeah,
mean,
but the copper dragon is like the trickster dragon. So if I said a brass dragon is a wizard, a bronze dragon is a warrior, copper dragon is your rogue. He's the one that wants to play tricks on you, and they're very sociable. They love a good joke or a funny story.
got a little chaos in it then, huh?
Yeah, but of all the good aligned dragons, they are probably the most greedy. But like for them, again, they're one of the few. They're chaotic good, which one of the few non-lawful good types of dragons. Basically, coppers and brass dragons are chaotic good. The other three types are lawful good.
So he's like the fun one at the dragon party.
He is, and like, what kind of pranks does a 2,000-year-old supreme being who's got decades, if not centuries, to figure out how to pull off the greatest prank ever? Like, he can start laying tidbits of rumors about some great and powerful artifact hidden in the mountains, and then 200 years later, somebody finally gets there and he's like, got you.
He's playing the long con then, huh?
Yeah. And would probably love that.
So are they more likely to go around in disguise, like trying to hide who they are or what they are?
If it suits their purposes, yes. I mean, I would say any of the three metallics that we've talked about so far are equally likely to utilize their polymorph ability when it suits their needs.
Right, whether they're trying to blend in or fool somebody or whatever.
Right, exactly. So it is just another tool in their toolbox. Now, copper dragons do tend to want to live in areas that are like hilly, rocky, caverns are also good. And they'll love to like keep a treasure, like not something that has high value, but something that reminds them of a good prank they pulled off. And if you can pull off a good prank, and if you can pull off a good prank on them, they might give you something in return just because they value that so highly.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I like coppers well enough.
Yeah. Probably hang out with one, Be fun to hang out with.
But like as a dragon, not
but
necessarily. They're still a dragon. Like you can prank them. Maybe they'll love it. But if they're annoyed with your prank, they're not likely to just kill you outright, but like you don't want a dragon mad at you. Just no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they'll think like all of your descendants for the next 6 generations don't have a sense of humor.
Right? Something along those lines.
Like, oh yeah. No, no wit in that family.
Right.
Well, that's the dumb branch of the family.
For sure.
That's pretty cool. So gold?
Gold? You want to talk about gold already?
Well, no. Are we?
Okay, so I just mentioned that copper dragons' breath weapon is acid, and their non-lethal is a cone of gas that will slow any creature within it. So just slow you down. I can get away if I need to. They also,
So do they get that like the black dragons do with the
no,
the
no, they don't. And like, it's weird that they don't, because green dragons, which also spray acid, don't get it, but black dragons do. But I think, again, people say that it's from that. I don't know that it is. It's probably just black dragon physiology that makes them look like that. Like, they don't really have lips, you know?
maybe that's it.
Yeah. So you want to talk about golds now. So hold on. What is making noise here? Oh God. Oh, sorry. Something started playing in the background on my computer. I'm like, holy cow, what is that? All right. So gold dragons. So they are probably the most eastern looking of the main types of dragons. Their wings are a very similar layout to a brass dragon. So here's a brass dragon, and here's a gold dragon.
They have that roughly frill around their tail too.
Yeah, well, and brass dragons have that as well, but you will notice that a gold dragon is much more serpentine, and they also have the whiskers that a lot of the Eastern style dragons have.
Yes. Amy, are you watching?
Yeah. See, there you go. It's not exactly like a Lung dragon from Chinese mythology, but it is close to Dungeons and Dragons gets without being, at least in the sort of main run of dragons.
Yeah, it does have the cat-like whiskers.
Mm-hmm. And but their tail is much longer. That's one of the ways you can tell them from a brass dragon. Like, look at how long that tail is versus how long that tail is. I mean, again, brass is not short, but
that's a magnificent tail.
It really is. And I like the way the wing runs down the entire length of it. I mean, not everybody likes the wings on those kind of dragons. I think they're cool.
Yeah, I like the ruffles.
So when it comes to dragons, and like every dragon is like, my kind of dragon is the best. But gold dragons are actually right when they think that, because they are the most powerful kind there is. They are unrivaled in their dedication to fighting evil.
It's because they are lawful good.
They are lawful good. And
do they turn into canaries?
They can polymorph into canaries. Yes, they can. Which takes us back to Fizban the Fabulous. He's got those 10 canaries, that is a guise that Bahamut takes, and he's always attended by 10 canaries or 10 gold dragons that are polymorphed into canaries. So if you ever wandering around D&D land and you happen upon a literally crazy old wizard who's got 10 canaries following him around, like just don't do anything.
Don't take him off.
Right. So as I said, like, gold dragons are sort of, if you pardon my expression, the gold standard when it comes to good guy dragons. They are, in a sense, okay, when I say they're wanting to fight evil, they're not going to come to your town to take out the bandits. Like, that is small potatoes. That doesn't need a dragon. They want to go find the things that needs a dragon, and then they're going to go do that thing. Like, human society is often beneath the notice of gold dragons.
I was going to ask if the metallics have like minions, or you say some of the metallics
absolutely do. Absolutely, they can, like, because just given the fact that being good and being lawful a lot of times is going to lend you to having a society or being able to integrate into society. Now, gold dragons are lawful good, but like, due to the fact that they're here in the order of dragons, and they sort of feel like they have a divine mission from Bahamut to go hunt and destroy evil, they very rarely will turn up in human lands. They're honestly maybe in the astral plane or one of the 9 hells or something, trying to fight the real evil out there, not the low grade evil that people like you and I deal with in our lives.
Right, right. They're going where, like, I guess the stakes are higher, or what have you. Like, it takes a dragon
Right.
to handle it. Yeah.
They can come across as extremely arrogant.
So they have that pride as like
Mm-hmm.
they're number one, and they know it.
Yes. Well, and they're right though.
And they're right. Yeah. So they have like this mandate from Bahamut to go and perform good in the world.
Right. Exactly.
Or
And
the actual play, have you.
and real talk, they're really good at it. Like, as far
Now,
as
do
as
they
far as
work together?
I'm
Do they
sorry.
work? I said, do gold dragons work together, or are
Yes.
they more solitary?
Now, dragons are by their nature solitary predators, but gold dragons, being first of all lawful, second of all feeling like they have a divine mandate, they absolutely will work together if they need to. Although a lot of times one dragon's enough. You know what I mean?
I wonder, is there like this divine order of Baphomet among like dragonkin?
Yeah, it's probably those 10 canaries, if I'm being honest. You know what I mean?
So they would be like the 10 most powerful.
Yes, I think the lore literally says they are the 10 most powerful. I will say this. They do prefer not to use violence as a first approach.
So what is their non-violent?
Well, they breathe fire, and then
Mhm.
they breathe a gas that basically weakens you, saps your
But
strength.
it doesn't knock you out. You just like takes all the fight out of you.
Yeah, you got it. Like, oh, I can't. How am I going to attack you when I can't even like lift my arms because my sword is too heavy?
So they're like, this is the ultimate Zen weapon. I'm taking all the fight out of you, out of
Yep.
the conflict out of you.
Yep. And I like gold dragons a lot because they're like, well, first of all, in Dungeons and Dragons, there is not a more powerful dragon. That's not a god.
Right.
So if you want to, first of all, don't fight a gold dragon. They're good guys. But if you want to fight a gold dragon as sort of a party of adventurers, that is the type of thing that you spend 3 years playing to try to achieve. If you will want to be 17th level or higher before you even think about, and maybe like get all the way to 20 before you even think about going up against an ancient gold dragon. Yeah, I love it. That's it. Actually, I might mention that there are dragon kin, and there is a thing called a fairy dragon, and I don't have any like lore prepped for it. I didn't do my homework on this. I didn't have a whole lot of time to do my homework on this because this was a last minute replacement stream. But there is a thing called a fairy dragon. They're about the size of a house cat. They have butterfly wings instead of bat-like wings, and their breath weapon is a cloud of gas that causes euphoria. So
I want one. Where do you get one?
I do too. They're awesome. Fairy dragons are awesome.
Best pet ever. Best companion ever.
Best companion ever. Okay, so the only dragon we haven't talked about is probably my actually favorite. Yes, fairy dragon. Yes, they
Not
exist in Dungeons and Dragons. For those of you playing in my D&D game, don't hold your breath right now.
bad.
Do your research. Let's just say do your research first. But
Yeah. Don't
silver,
don't try to snare a fairy dragon when you're like a level 3 campaigner. No.
right? Well, and know what it wants before you go. All right. Well, silver dragon. Here we go. This is a silver dragon. Notice the prominent mohawk and chin hair. Also,
Yes.
they have a unique wing design in that they have a 3-finger wing, and instead of having 4 long fingers and 1 talon on the end of their wing, they have 3 long fingers and 2 talons on their wing. They have that majestic mohawk and goatee combo.
Yeah. Way
And
cool. Way
one of
cool.
the things about silver dragons is that the older they get, like the finer the division between their scales comes, so that when you meet a very, very old one, they basically look like they're just smooth,
Like
polished.
polished silver.
Yeah. And that's an incredible aesthetic as far as I'm concerned. They look awesome. And so I said blues are my favorites. Maybe silvers are my favorites. It's like, okay, good guy, bad guy, blues and silvers, period, all the way. And I'll tell you why silver is my favorite. Because silver dragons are the ones that, if you are going to encounter a good guy dragon, it is probably a silver dragon. Silver dragons love people.
Oh, so
They
they're
enjoy the company of humans and elf so much that they have been known to take on human or elven form for decades and live as part of that society and act as a behind the scenes protector for whatever community they live in. Because
so
while
they'll just really involve themselves in the affairs and goings on of humans and elves and basic society. So
yeah,
they're
like
more earthbound in a way. They're more in tune with lesser creatures.
right. Well, to the fact that like silver dragons probably spend most of their not lives not in their dragon form. They will find a place that they like and they'll assume a form appropriate to live there. And when that form gets too old, maybe they'll leave, take on a different humanoid form, and come back to that same community.
Oh, just like going to your favorite bar or whatever, and you're just
Yeah, but
hanging out.
yeah,
But
and
you don't want people to know it's you, you know.
and they might
Crazy.
know entire generations of a family
Mm-hmm.
because they've lived in that same community for a couple hundred years. Now they've had different identities over that time, but like they know them all. And this is so like they love people in a way that no other dragon does. Now, like your other metallic dragons, like they care about people, but they don't necessarily like love hanging out with people. Like, okay, so brass dragons do want to have a conversation with you, and copper dragons do want to pull a prank on you, but like they don't want to live like a butcher for 35 years so that they can experience what it's like to live in a human community. And as the second most powerful form of dragon, of metallic dragon, like they are not to be trifled with either. Like dragons got power rankings and silvers are right there at the top. Only golds outstrip them. Equal in power, I would say, to a red dragon.
So, what's their breath weapon?
Okay, so they have a cone of cold, and their non-lethal is paralyzing gas.
which is
So,
kind of like the same thing except non-lethal.
right,
Not you're never going anywhere. It's like you're going to hold still for a minute.
right. And like they will probably only use their breath weapon in extremely dire circumstances or when facing an evil dragon. Like there was I dungeon mastered a game where there was the bar owner was a silver dragon. He he had lived as multiple owners of this bar
Perfect job.
or inn and tavern for like over 100 years. But when an evil dragon showed up there, he like literally without even walking out the door, turned into his silver dragon form, ripping the roof off of the place because he's like, I'm going after that thing now. Dragons are very patient and they're willing to wait years, even decades, even centuries to see their plans come to fruition. But when a silver dragon sees a chromatic dragon, it will immediately fight it to the death with very little regard for anything else.
That's just its nature.
That's just its nature.
It's gregarious and very human-like up until the second that it isn't anymore, and it's a dragon.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's still a dragon.
Right. Now, so a silver dragon will still have a lair somewhere that's remote, but it might only return to it once every couple of decades.
Mm-hmm.
But that's still where it will stash its treasure. So it'll live in town in the guise of a person, but it will have its lair somewhere. Usually somewhere very, very cold. Again, they have a cold breath weapon, so they tend to favor a cold environment. Really, the only exception to that rule is the gold dragon, because they like to make their lairs underwater and they're a fire breather. So you go figure that out. But yeah, silvers, I just love them because they make for a great story hook. Like, I love the idea of the silver dragon who was super good friends with this one guy who was just a very good guy warrior. And, 50 years later, meets that guy's extremely evil but very similar looking grandson. And is just friends with this guy because I knew your grandfather and I liked your grandfather and,
Yeah. And just continue to interact with them.
Even though like this guy is evil, but like the silver doesn't make that connection because I've been friends with your family.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. And one of the other things that I really like that the metallic dragons can do is that they can be an antagonist in your Dungeons and Dragons story that is not just like a mustache twirling bad guy. Imagine the bronze dragon, the ancient bronze dragon, who wants nothing more than to bring justice to people, who is still trying to punish a line of rulers for something that happened 200 years ago. In his mind, that is still the right and just thing to do. But for the people that are trying to rebuild a life and a kingdom for themselves, like that is antagonistic.
Right. Because the current people, so they're still paying for the sins of their ancestors, whether they did whether they're good people or not. They're still under the justice, I guess, of or the penance, I guess, of the dragon.
Or even to the point of like, that king is evil, therefore I must raise and destroy his villages and towns so that he is not being supplied with the means to be a tyrant. Well, you're kind of roasting people alive in that process, but dragon brain is what it is, yeah, some humans died, but it's not a big deal. They were about to die anyway. They were going to just die in a couple of decades anyway. It's just a blink of an eye. I don't feel great about it, but like, they were about to die anyway. And that's a fun antagonist because it's not a villain in the same way that like a red dragon is, where I'm just burninating the countryside for no good, for no reason other than I'm pissed off all the time.
Right. So could a creature like that be someone or something that could be reasoned with, as opposed to, it's killing innocent villagers. We have to go and yada yada yada. Is this something that they could bargain with them? How do you bargain or work with metallic dragons in that way? If they don't want to, I mean, in their mind, they're the good guy.
Right. Now, they're intelligent. They can be reasoned with, you know. A creative player or, or a creative character can find a way to make bargains with lots of things. But when dealing with dragons, it's always best to realize, to remember that, A, you don't always know what they really want.
Mm-hmm.
Because the action they're taking now might just be a thing that's part of an ongoing scheme for them. Something that's decades that they've been working on for 20 years and they don't expect to see come to fruition for 50 years, but they got to do this thing now. Right. And second of all, like, even the nicest, friendliest of them is still a dragon. They're still... They occupy a place in the universe that is above you, and they know it.
Yeah.
They are a superior type of being, and like you are unwise to anger them. I don't know. I've said that about 15 times during this stream. Like, don't piss off a dragon.
Don't piss off a dragon, whether it's good, evil, or what have you. They will just kill you. Not think anything about it.
Well, and again, they might not. A metallic dragon might not just kill you, but like, if they're tired of your shit, they're gonna get rid of you. Maybe not in a sort of lethal or violent way, but
they'll just knock you out and drop you off 100 miles from where you started.
Right, exactly. Or just grab you in the claw, fly wherever they want to take you, put you down, and be like, "Don't come back. You've been warned." But yeah, so that's Dragons and D&D in a nutshell. Oh wow, we're only about 15 minutes from the end anyway, so
yeah, I noticed that. Are there any questions in the chat? Any burning D&D questions that any of you guys might have for our DM this evening? No, he's not going to tell you how he's going to kill you next week.
Nope. I will say this, like, other types of dragons absolutely exist. So we've talked about good aligned and evil aligned dragons. There is a set of gemstone dragons, which are neutral aligned dragons, but they are not nearly as common, and there is no official lore for them in the current edition of Dungeons and Dragons. But they're like sapphire and amethyst and ruby, emerald.
Right.
Diamond? I don't remember them.
Sapphire, topaz, emerald.
Oh, did you look?
Oh yeah, I've got it up on the dock. A crystal dragon, is that like a diamond or something? Amethyst. But yeah, they're all gemstones and
yeah. Amy has a good question. How populated is the D&D world with dragons? Are they rare? So that's going to depend on what game world you're in. In Dragonlance, and
they're not so rare.
Yeah, they're not rare in Dragonlance, and they're not really rare in the Forgotten Realms setting either. But then there are other settings where they're extremely rare, or maybe like borderline non-existent. To D&D classify all of you. That is for another time, I think. I would be happy to do it, but like, it's not like, you got to understand, man, I'm deep in my lore, and like, I know all my game rules too. So I'm going to want to give you stat line. I'm going to want to give you a class. I want to give you an alignment, all of that. So
contact Steven, roll up character, join his D&D group.
Maybe that would be a fun thing to do on some random stream sometime. Like, just like, not even a Here Be Dragons normal stream. Just be like, hey, I'll D&D character you. Come on, let's do this.
Yeah, Steven, I want you to D&D character me.
Okay. Is that how we're going to end this?
Well, what have we got coming up on the Here Be Dragons
Oh,
channel?
okay. So this Sunday is a retro review of the nerd culture classic called Ghost in the Shell. Not the Scarlett Johansson movie from 2017, but rather the anime movie from 1995, which we looked and I can't remember where all you can find it, but it is findable out there. I think
I'm
it's
sure
on like
was it
yeah,
on Voodoo or
I know
YouTube?
it's on Voodoo. I
It's like
think
$3 on whatever platform you can find it.
yeah. But we are reviewing Ghost in the Shell, and I'm super happy about it because I saw that movie like as soon as it came out on VHS. I saw it, and I thought it was incredible. Like, I don't want to spoil it for anybody that hasn't seen it, but like, it is a fantastic science fiction movie. Fantastic. And then John only recently watched it, and he said to me something to the effect of, so I said, "So what did you think?" And he said something to the effect of, "It was one of the greatest science fiction movies I've ever seen."
And he probably immediately ordered it on Blu-ray.
Well, he had ordered it on Blu-ray, and when it arrived, that's
Ah, yeah,
oh yeah,
of
also
course.
free on Amazon. So Ghost in the
What?
Shell is free on Amazon. And side note, that's what's happening Sunday, but Saturday I'm going to be on John's channel, John Webster Films channel, and we'll be talking about the movie Hero, which
Yes.
Amy is like, oh, oops, sorry. Don't forget to plug the Hero stream, which Amy will also be on. So it'll be on John's channel, but Amy and I will both be guests to talk about the Zhang Yimou movie Hero.
That sounds
It's set in ancient China, and it is a fantastic piece of cinema.
great. That sounds
Oh,
awesome.
Hero is the one that's on Vudu. Okay. Well, anyway, I hope you guys can find those things because both of those films definitely deserve to be watched. Yes, neither one is in Chinese, one is in Japanese. You can get them both with subtitles, and it's absolutely worth it. Even if you normally wouldn't watch an anime, or if you don't normally watch wushu film, these are the ones that for which you make an exception. You know, just like there's always that one, you know, in every genre you can think of, there's that one that's like stands out as being a cut above. Well, that's probably it for both of these movies, at least in my mind.
All right. Well, that's great. I can't wait to watch them both.
Thank you, Amy. I just listened when other people said it correctly.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I think that's going to be it for this episode of Unspun Yarn. I want to thank everybody for showing up and hanging out in the chat with me. And thank you, Stephen, for finally getting, we have a mutual topic. Yay!
Hey, well, thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun. Again, I feel like a lot of it was me just like spewing information out of my face, but like,
Isn't that like what we do?
yeah, but like,
it was necessarily pedantic, Stephen.
it was. But I don't know. I love me some dragons, and like I can't. Dungeons and Dragons has been around for a long time, and it's a thing that has put a lot of work into its dragons. Like we didn't spend a whole lot of time on any one of them. If you wanted to deep dive a single dragon, we could probably talk for 30 minutes about one of them if I had my chance to do my full homework. But like you can see that they're all distinct from each other. They're similar in all the right ways and different in all the right ways. And
it's interesting that even through the different alignments that they have the same faults, I guess, through the deadly sins. I really like that catch, Stephen. That was really cool.
Well, I
had never thought of it. I had never thought of it that way, but you're 100% correct on that.
Well, I wish I could claim credit for coming up with that idea myself. I did not. I read it or heard it somewhere else. I can't remember where. But like when I heard it, I was like, "Yup, that makes sense," and I'm going to steal that.
Well, good steal, man. That was very,
Hey,
very
man.
dragon. That was very dragonish nature.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, we're gonna sign off. And thanks everybody for being here. Appreciate it, and we'll see you guys next time around.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.